Well, let's turn our attention now to the controversial 2024 appropriation bill. On Wednesday, social media was awash with reactions following reports alleging that 10 billion naira had been earmarked for the renovation of the residence of Femi GBAJABIAMILA, the chief of staff to the president. President Tinubu on November 29th presented the 2024 budget proposal of 27.5 trillion naira to the National Assembly for consideration. The proposed budget shows that the presidency, through the office of the chief of staff, is expected to spend 5 billion naira for the renovation of Dodan Barracks, Presidential Lodge, and another 5 billion naira for the renovation of the vice president's quarters in Lagos. Well, GBAJABIAMILA, in a post on X, clarified the position, stating that he lives in his private residence, contrary to claims that there is a provision for the renovation of his house in the budget. Well, let's take his tweet now. He wrote, "I have seen social media commentary regarding the 2024 appropriation bill, particularly the provisions under the office of the Chief of Staff to the President. Owing to erroneous nature of these reports, it has become necessary to clarify that there is no provision in the 2024 appropriation bill for the renovation of any residence for the Chief of Staff to the President. I live in my private residence. The sums mischievously quoted by online bloggers and fake news merchants are for renovating the presidential quarters in Dodan Barracks and the Vice President's Lodge in Lagos to overhaul the information management and communications facilities in the presidency to meet modern standards and to provide vehicles for the staff of the presidency. The sum proposed for these projects are clearly stated in the budget proposal and bear no resemblance to the deceptive online commentary." Well, GBAJABIAMILA went further to state that Tinubu's administration welcomes and encourages scrutiny of government expenditure, noting that the budget proposal is publicly available. Yes, it is publicly available. In the meantime, the proposed 2024 budget revealed staggering allocations of 61.29 trillion for renovation and construction of buildings, while an additional 6.82 billion naira was earmarked for vehicle purchases. I mean, this budget has gone viral. We have seen it. I did send the budget to you. Let's just pull up some more breakdowns that got a lot of people talking. The first is 319.28 billion naira that was earmarked for all federal governments, MDAs, and presidency to be spent on publicity, welfare, medical, and miscellaneous. Then also another 61.29 billion, which I had just talked about, that was earmarked for renovation and construction of buildings. Then another 20.52 billion naira that will be spent on the presidential air fleet. This got a lot of people talking. Then another 7.5 billion naira, which was earmarked for foreign trips for the president and the vice president, 7.5 billion. Then another 6.2 billion will be spent on state house operational vehicles. Then another 5.84 billion naira will be spent on meals for all the MDAs. I know this one will catch Dr. Abati's attention, the 5.5 billion naira on meals. But I mean, I think a lot of people are they are in their right to, complain about these budgets, which are basically just expenditure. They are not really for, capital or for anything that, would encourage Nigerians to say, okay, this 2.7 or 2.57 trillion naira budget is okay. Even though a lot of people say it's a very small budget compared to our population, but it is a lot. Dr. Abati, I'd like for you to comment on GBAJABIAMILA first of all, before we talk about others.
First thing, I worked in that villa.
Yes.
The chief of staff to the president does not have an official residence. There's no such thing.
Yes, that's what he
So
clarified.
if he says that he lives in his private residence, it is true. The second point to be made is that if you look at some of those subheads, as he himself has pointed out in his statement, they are not subheads for the office of the chief of staff. They're talking about purchase of computers. the office of the chief of staff, I mean, it's not as if it's a stadium. So if they say 75 million, that means, you know, what they have put there is not just for his office, it's for State House-wide application. Purchase of computer printers, 29.5. How many computers are in the chief of staff's office? In fact, the office of the chief of staff, if you go from the sitting area, one conference room, and you just go 1, 2, 3 offices, the entire office is finished. So where are they going to put 29.5 million there? Purchase of motor vehicles, 290 million. So that would be vehicles for some other people. What I don't understand is why they have put all of these, you know, line items under the office of the chief of staff. Because if you look at the breakdown by 30 cents from say 2020, you know, it was you know, 24.35. 2021, 76.55. 2022, it went up 526. 2023, it went up 517. And then all of a sudden in 2024, 21.22 billion. I think the people, to answer the question here, is the budget office. There is an office called the budget office. There is a Ministry of Budget and Planning. They take recommendations from the various departments and then they prepare the document. I don't want to blame Minister Bagudu. He's been governor, he's worked in primary education, but he has MSc economics. So I guess he will have an idea about how these things work. But whatever it is, the budget office, you know, has to be more careful in spelling out the details. This was the same problem we had with the Lagos State budget report, when it was reported that the office of the chief of staff in Lagos was going to get a bulletproof vehicle, you know, for a certain amount. And the Lagos State government had to say, no, that bulletproof vehicle is for VIPs, visiting VIPs, not for the chief of staff. Because I was asking, what is the job of a chief of staff that he will be going about in a bulletproof vehicle? It's not that important. It's just to support, you know, the principal and run the administration of the principal's operations. So I think Mr. GBAJABIAMILA is innocent in this matter. But he himself admits in the last paragraph that scrutiny by the public is welcome. And I think it's important when the public raises these questions, you take them in good faith, you respond, you offer the explanation. But on the whole, all of the things that have been pointed out about renovation, about this and that, about big figures, this is still a proposal. We have to call on the National Assembly to do due diligence and to listen to the Nigerian people. That budget 2024, that we don't even have the money to fund. Our benchmark for crude oil is already uncertain. With crude oil now hovering around $74 and no certainty that OPEC plus expectation that prices will go up will be achieved. So that National Assembly, in considering Appropriation Bill 2024, must cut as much fat as possible.
Yes.
We must learn from the example that we have seen, we keep pointing out, in Malawi,
yes,
in Zambia, maybe not in Namibia, when one president went to come 28 with 6 children.
With 6 children and his family members.
We want a lean government.
Yes, absolutely.
We want an efficient government because Nigerians struggling to survive. Exchange rate upside down.
Right.
If they hear that somebody is going to ride a bulletproof vehicle, they will say, well, that bulletproof vehicle may not be foolproof after all.
Yes. I mean, only yesterday, we took the story of the presidential jet that was, you know, up for sale. And I like that a lot. I mean, if that same budget, they're saying that 20.52 billion will be budgeted for, you know, presidential air fleet. I hope that, you know, like Dr. Abati have said, that they should look at it critically and try to, you know where they would subtract and all of that. I thought you were going to mention the 5 billion for the food budget for all MDs. I mean, don't they?
I think we'll get to a point where we'll start advocating that people should eat from their salary.
They should eat from their salary. That's what we are advocating for now. Absolutely. Come on, really, what is that? 5 billion naira. I think it's a lot of money for just eat from your salary. Really.
Can I just say something about the renovations? I think this government, you know how it's called the budget of renewed hope.
Yes.
It should be budget of renewed hope and renovations, because there are lots of renovations I am underlined. Now, going to the fact that the Chief of Staff has said that they are renovating the Dodan Barracks Presidential Lodge of the President in Lagos and the Vice President's quarters in Lagos State. Why now? Why is it so important? They have their official residence in Abu. I know they come to Lagos quite often for functions. This is the president's hometown. However, there are other options, and we've talked about this in the past, whereby they wouldn't need to spend this amount of money to renovate a complex where they would hardly be staying in, where it's just a visit or when they come to Lagos State for a visit. In addition to that, why not channel that money into other infrastructure? The policemen's quarters, let's look at it. They don't even have the luxury, and that's where they live, because there was a recent story in the papers this morning about agitations for accommodation for barracks of the police. Can you not channel can you not channel that fund to making the lives of our servicemen better? Hospital quarters, let's look at where the doctors are living. Can we not channel the 5 billion naira used to renovate a complex that already exists, where they are not going to be staying permanently just when they visit Lagos State, and channel it to making the lives of our servicemen better by giving them better accommodation? These are the things that upset the sensitivities of Nigerians. The fact that on one hand you're saying there's a necessity for you to spend money on this amount of things, when the basic necessities of people who work for the good of Nigeria is not certain. Very unfortunate.
Footnote though, the State House Marina, the State House at Dodan Barracks is in a very bad shape. It needs to be renovated. Oftentimes the president of Nigeria will need to come to Lagos. The State House in Marina has been handed over to the Lagos State government. So the one in Dodan Barracks that was abandoned, it even has a landing space for helicopters. It has the SH0CK press center. It has a medical center. That used to be State House for Nigeria under the military, but it was abandoned. So if they want to renovate it, it should be renovated, because each time we landed in that space, you look around and you say, why would Nigeria abandon this kind of space? And that used to be the seat of government.
But as I said,
and with State House having been given out, Marina having been given out to the Lagos State government, no, there's nothing wrong in renovating that one, because we, in our time, we were even receiving some prime ministers in that State House.
But can they renovate it with a leaner budget, though? Can they renovate it? That's what we can advocate for. And but just, you know, we've been advocating for this slim government, and you know, like you've talked about, Wike, we'll take his story after this story, is planning to build a new quarters for the vice president with 15 billion naira. Well, before we take Wike's story, let's head over to Dubai quickly, where the Minister of Foreign Affairs, SH0CK, on Wednesday announced during the ongoing COP28 climate summit that Nigeria aims to have the largest electric mass transit fleet in Africa. The minister also stated that the country is leading the fight against climate change in Africa by setting ambitious and realistic goals, and that the country will increase its electric bus size from 100 to 1,000. I mean, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu just made that announcement that they would acquire 100 buses. I mean, this is a footprint that the minister is trying to say that, you know, it will help with all the renewable energy and all of that. But in the meantime, here in Nigeria, a video that has been making the rounds on social media showed a fleet of buses undergoing restoration at the Federal Secretariat in Abuja. The buses are said to have been acquired to address transportation challenges worsened by the recent fuel hike.
These are the buses. You see, they are repenting it. Soon they will just hit the road and tell you they bought new buses. These are old, very old buses. Very, very old buses. Very old buses. Zoom them. You see how they line it up? They are repairing it and repenting. This is the buses they promised Nigerians that they will bring out. See them. See the buses. Tomorrow the budget of these buses will be in billions of naira, and nobody will talk. A civil society group, they are not doing anything. This is the country that we are talking about. You know, nothing is moving. Government deceiving cities. See this one. Zoom it. You see, just look at the engine of this one. Zoom and look at the engine of this one. Yes. Look at the engine of this one. Just look at it. Zoom it. Look at the engine.
Well, this video has been circulating for about a week now. I've just thought to bring it to the attention of the federal government. I hope these are not the buses that they intend to acquire.